Jai Baba. This is Minoo Kharas from Karachi, Pakistan. Today I will speak to you all about my life, in short, with our beloved Meher Baba. It was since my childhood that the urge to see God was predominant, without anybody having referred to me about it, or without my having read anything to have that instinct in me aroused. Visits and solicitation of advices from the first natural available sources, the priests, first of my community where I am born, the Parsis, and then from the others, brought me nowhere near God. Naturally, I then had to turn myself to visiting various mazars, tombs, places of pilgrimages, and yet my intense desire to meet God was a complete frustration. I then contacted a number of saints, including the world-famous Krishnamurti, but yet God was nowhere to be found. I then wondered whether God is really any entity or not. And if He is, then why and how do I not see Him? And it was very clear to me that I not only wanted to see God, but wanted thereafter to be with Him. And strange as it may sound, to be actually be Him. Sort of merged completely in Him, that I would want nothing else than that. So finally, I took recourse to seashores, graveyards, outskirts of the city, jungles, and I started talking to God, all in the wilderness. Yet there was no trace of God. I started becoming rowdy with God, nowhere to be found, but kept on persisting in my search for God, this very life at any cost. Almost when I was totally frustrated, I was mightily happy for having come across Kabir Wani, a book by the renowned perfect master Kabir Sahib, in which it is crystal clear that God does come down periodically in the form of a master, a Sadguru, and also once in a while as the avatar, the Rasul, the God-man. Well, the first part of the journey was over. Now it was for me, at any cost, to locate God. Reading English translation of the Holy Gita, this was confirmed to me that God Himself does come down once in a while, once in a cycle of time. And the last thing therefore left for me was to find out if the present times in which I am living is the time when God would be available in the flesh. At last, on the most memorable Sunday, the 17th of January 1932, I did meet a human being who for all practical purposes appeared and appears always as an ordinary normal human being as you and I. And I met him at a Circle Cinema Nasik. But the moment I saw him, I felt within me, without his having said anything or even gestured, because then he was in his silence, in his early beginning years of silence, I felt convincingly that this is the God in flesh before me, and that my search for God had ended. Now it was for me to get closer and closer to Him in my life unto my goal, God realization, which then was predominant in me. Well, the first day when I met him, I did not utter one word, but fired out every word, good or bad, that I had within me, and his gestures, his noddings, his saying yes by nodding his head in that manner, proved to me conclusively that every word that I was uttering from within, he was listening. And right enough, as soon as I completed, he said, "Minoo, I have heard you completely. Not only you love me, but I love you. I have a debt which I have to repay you." And so on. Well, this is how our physical association in life started. But let me make it very plain to you all that to me, he was God, that is, Almighty in human form. Nothing short of that. And in this fashion, my association in life started. His few utterances were mostly in regard to the stupendous role that, according to him, I would have to play with him physically this very life during his most glorious manifestation as never before. He made no secret of this fact, and he made certain utterances which proved the inner deep urge in me to find God this very life, to be with him, and to finally merge in him. In order to qualify me for that stupendous task, from the very beginning, he gave me 3 specific orders, saying, "Minoo, beware of a lustful act. No woman, no romance. Number 2, no drinking of liquor in any form." He even specified, not even beer, not even toddy, at any cost, even at the cost of your life. And 3rd, no smoking. It was perfectly evident that this caution he gave, this open hint he gave through his infinite compassion to see that when the holy hour does come, and be sure it will come in our very lives, that I would be ready, fully qualified to be with him then. Why should I have been singled out? Or why should a few others, I do not know if any others have been so clearly and repeatedly and emphatically informed by Baba, but I am concerned with myself and with Baba. But I know he has done this. And so much so that once in early 40s, he had his then secretary, Mr. Faramroz Dada Chanji, sent all over to Karachi with only one news to me, that Minoo, remember my words and don't waste energy, reserve for the stupendous task. Just imagine. And then a little before that, in 1939, he sends me a cable, come alone, inform none. As if I was a child at a junction, I cannot name that railway junction, lest you would suspect or understand where Baba called me, and he did not and does not want till this moment anybody to know where he called me, where he met me. And I was taken there from that junction as if I was a child, and even after the task was over, within a few hours that day, I was sent back with Mr. Dada Chandi up to that junction. It was at that moment also that he confirmed all about my being vigilant of what he had told me in regard to the role that will have to be played at the time of his manifestation. In 1943 at Lahore, he once again sent for me and repeated the same thing. And from beginning till the last moment, every time I met, he asked me whether I had slipped even a bit in the three said respects. And whatever human failings and weaknesses I underwent, which I boldly confess, were by his grace within the limits. There were occasions when I almost crossed the threshold. I was nervous, but the love and faith, and above all his love grace on me, kept me up to this very moment. Then comes the new life of Baba, in which, as many of you may be knowing, I was one of the Yaswalas, and I was the only one singled out by him that being Yaswalas, I was to go back to the same old life in the world, with the exception of certain orders that he gave me during new life, and those orders coincided with all the activities that Baba with his Yaswala companions did during the new life phase. Now, with all these spiritual utterances of the highest order, I must admit that side by side he warned me and warned me repeatedly, saying very often, Minoo, you are perfect from top to toe, but your eyes are very bad. And in time to come, he took pains to see that those eyes changed. And now you would like me to be a little more in a lighter mood to tell you few things about my association with him for around 39 years. That is from 17th of January 1932 at Nasik to 31st of January 1969 when Baba dropped his physical body. Well, it all looks a very long period. But don't be carried away by the impression that all the 39 years I was with him. According to the notes that I have written from beginning till now, whenever I met Baba, wherever I met Baba, at various places in the undivided India, I remember well that Baba has played many games with many people, and I have played some of those games like marbles, cricket, carom, his most favorite card game Laris, table tennis, drafts. And at that time Baba was absolutely as normal, natural as any human being. One wondered as to why and how one who calls himself as God had such activities. But he had his own reasons for that. And it would be out of place at present to elaborate on this side of Baba's life. But during these games, I saw him in a very happy mood, at times in very violent mood, at times so very angry, all kinds of moods through which we all humans pass when we play these games. But in all these games, singing, dancing, and such physical activities that we experience with him in our life with him, he very keenly watched almost everyone as to how far one was conscious of the fact that he is before God in human form. This was very, very difficult. There are many stories, a few stories yesterday. In addition to the stories, there were certain incidents which were also related. And now, for a speaker of stories and incidents, it is the ego that is predominant. There is the natural desire to speak. And for the listeners, it is the natural inquisitiveness to know, just the interest to know. But here we are dealing with stories and incidents in life of an individual during the physical lifetime of God. So you must understand that the spirit and the motive behind relating some of the stories and the incidents is to make one understand certain characteristics of Baba, certain basic requirements in us as true, genuine spiritual aspirants and Baba lovers. In order to help one to that, these stories and incidents have been related with all love, so that if one of you or more can be benefited, then the purpose is served. Now let us be specific. What are the requirements? The first and the foremost requirement is pinpointed love and devotion to the Master and Master alone and to nobody else. It's all right on the path of good to pay homage to holy people, to more than one Sadgurus, masters, to go and visit places of pilgrimages, and so on. But on the path of God, what is required? This is not my opinion or assumption or presumption, but which is a basic spiritual fact as often revealed by Baba during my life with him, is love. Love for him and him alone. Then comes faith, to feel what Baba says he is, and then above all, implicit obedience to his wish, will and his orders. Simple as these sound, how difficult it has been in life with me, as I'm sure with almost all, is known to you all. To ensure that we have love, faith, obedience, and allegiance only to him and him alone, he puts us all to very severe tests, and I was no exception to the rule. Through disobedience, of course unwittingly, of some of his orders, the sufferance in life was tremendous. To a certain extent, I have elaborated on this issue yesterday. But it will suffice here to say that the test by Baba to me in my life, the tests have been non-stop. And so much so that it brought me to terrific sufferance, financially, economically, and in every way in life. But I held firm, would have nothing whatsoever to do with any other Sadguru, Master, Saint, Must, or anyone. And only when, after testing in his own manner, throughout the long many years, he found that even he was helpless as openly declared by him before many at various places in the undivided India in the past, that the wheel of life in my case changed to the better. When Baba says he is helpless, as in my case more than once he said, what I mean is this, that it became next to impossible for him. I'm sorry, stupid as it may sound when I say so, but it is a fact, that all endeavors to see that I would leave, go away, disown him, because I've suffered, I'm suffering, that I was quite different, quite happy, I was loved by so many, respected, instead of that, tormented, humiliated now. And that was very easy for anyone, and substantial cause, as would appear outwardly, to leave Baba. But yet I would not. And according to him, on the contrary, came closer and closer. And this all, however egoistic it sounds, was nothing else but the result of his own supreme grace of love on me. And this should be for everyone. Now, this issue I'll wind up by plain, simple statement that all that is desired is that our prayers, with all respects to prayers in all religions, our prayers, I repeat, should be the very name of Baba. Our pilgrimage should be only going for his darshan. Our picnic, our holidays should be only to go where he is, to spend days with him. Our charity should be only whatever little mite we can contribute towards his work. And I'm happy to tell you, I don't know whether it is wise on my part to do so today, but why not? That on the eve of new life, when Baba was settling accounts with everybody on all scores, on all issues, he found that he was in a certain, say, bottleneck. I would not like to name, but the Baba stalwarts, who all their life contributed with love so lavishly for Baba's work, were for their own reasons at that critical moment totally helpless. And Baba turned to more than one others with the same result. Finally, for reasons best known to him, he turned to me, whom he always called a fool's master, that is, one who is penniless. And as soon as the proposal was put to me, I readily accepted, to the amazement of all, including Baba, ran And much before a very short time limit given by Baba, the task was completed by his own grace of love to his entire satisfaction. Precisely, I told you, I do not know whether it is wise for me to have even given an indication to you all today of this incident in my life with Baba. So, I do not know how to put it to you all. But this much I can say, and I'm sure you will understand, that certain financial adjustments were very badly required before the deadline coming close for Baba and his companions to proceed with everything cleared very shortly thereafter for the new life. And I, a beggar, how could I undertake to meet the said fairly large financial requirement for his very good spiritual reasons? And I most miraculously succeeded and actually finished his then financial requirement, which was badly required to be completed before starting on the new life. That's all I can elaborate at the moment on the issue. However, I can add this much in further clarification, that Baba, I repeat, knew too well that of all the persons present then, I was least expected to be able to arrange within a short limited period of time the required financial difficulty to cross that hurdle. But I spontaneously, with love, agreed. I rushed. I went to my own brother, from whom I could easily expect whole or part of the financial help that I had given him in the past. But he was most surprisingly found to be in his own difficulties and was unable to help me with anything. Undaunted, I rushed to Bombay, and most miraculously, I came across a person who told me, met me suddenly on the road and said and requested whether I could do him a favor. And to my utter surprise, the favor desired was entrusting a fairly big amount in my hands to be handed over to him sometime later on my return home. How wonderfully it fitted, and fitted in time the requirement. I accepted. I took the whole amount, the moral responsibility to return, and rushed back to Baba quietly. And Baba and the rest were surprised to see me back within literally a couple of hours, and wondered whether I had come change-minded or whether I had come duly finishing the issue. And when I quietly nodded my head, Baba was immensely pleased, and the people around were surprised. This is what I mean, that miraculously I could, within that short limited period, comply with the financial requirement of Baba on the eve of his proceeding on new life. And this, I also repeat, is one of the wonderful ways in which Baba tested me in life. I'm sure many of you have heard that Baba would very often call someone from the resident Mandali or a visitor then talking to the resident Mandali and ask what you are just thinking. And the person concerned had to say. In contrast to that, I will tell you something which very often happened to me in life with Baba. And one glaring incident was during his birthday celebrations at Nasik on a very elaborate scale in the year 1937, when for the first time Westerners were also present. I was standing right behind Baba on the stage where he was seated on a couch, and there was a sea of men before him. It was during those glorious days that Baba distributed from dawn to dusk, clothes and food, uncooked of course, in bundles to lakhs and lakhs of poor and the needy. The main point of my story is this, that during those celebrations, there was an aged, reputed Parsi philosopher, writer, seeker of truth, lover of Baba, who made a very inspiring short speech about Baba, and in the end, he referred to the Parsis, he being himself a Parsi, and said that you blind fool Parsis, open your eyes. Here before us is sitting living Zoroaster. Somehow or the other, I said to myself from within that this old man is now standing on a dangerous threshold, because very soon I feel he will either disown Baba and start talking against Baba. And Baba turned his face immediately towards me and put his finger on his mouth, signifying, Minoo, shut up. Thus, Baba had evidently heard every word that I had uttered from within myself without opening my mouth. Baba heard every word that I uttered from within without opening my mouth. I just told you that Baba often asked people as to what they were thinking about. Even on the last day that I met Baba at Guru Prasad, on 25th of May 1965, just before we started playing in the afternoon his choice game of cards, Laris, more than once he gave a sly look, the usual beautiful sly look, and asked, well, Minoo, what are you thinking? And the answer, as usual, was only one, and the only one answer, only you, Baba. So then he asked me, but what in particular? So I told him, I said, Baba, when in physical life, see how beautiful you appear, I wonder, what beauty must there be with you in your eternal form in the eternal sphere? So he turned round to Adi Dubash and asked, Is Minoo like this only when he is before me, or even there, meaning when at Karachi? The only obvious answer was that Baba, yes, is often like this even there. And Baba remarked, gestured, saying that you all do not know him. And Baba said, you know, pointing to me, that I am everything. My only answer to him was in Persian, Darin Cheshak, means there is no doubt. And he laughed and gave a flying kiss. In 1942, Baba was at Dehradun and stayed there for a number of months for his own reasons, for his own work. 10 long years had passed since my association physically with him then in life, and I wrote to him that I would like to come and see him. And although he was not seeing anybody then, he sent me permission to come along and see him. The normal natural course was that I wanted to rush to Baba. But Baba had a cable sent to me saying, don't rush, take time, come at leisure. So I stopped. If I had started immediately as I had decided and determined, I would have met death in the train disaster those days in Sindh when there was the Hur movement. Thus, I was saved. And after a few days, when I met Baba at Dehradun, he told me, what do you want? I said, Baba, I only know that I saw you, my search for God has ended, that I love you, that's all. But I do not know anything about your discourses, your philosophy, or anything. So he said, you have nothing to do except to obey my orders, and since you have come all this way and asked me all these questions, now you go back to Karachi, and the moment you reach Karachi, take off all your clothes, sit under a tree naked for 1 year. Immediately I bowed down to Baba and off I left. The then secretary, Mr. Framrose Dada Dikchandji, got stunned, amazed, pleaded Baba, and Baba said, but I have not given you orders. I have given orders to Minoo and he has accepted. But he said, Baba, Minoo is a police officer, and how do you expect him in the same city to be naked and be sitting under a tree? Baba said, is that any of your concern? Well, I proceeded, got up and said goodbye to Baba. But Mr. Darachandji pleaded so much that Baba called me back and said, Minoo, I give you an alternative order. I said, Baba, but why? I'm quite ready. He said, yes, I know you are, but you must obey whatever orders I give you. So his alternative orders were, I don't remember exact number now, but quite few hundreds of poor, blind, afflicted, to be collected in batches. I think of 100 each, and out of them to bathe a few from each batch and to feed them, and the rest could be fed by the others. And for that, naturally, I needed fairly colossal amount of money. And my financial position then was at its lowest ebb, as perhaps has always been in my life. And he gave one condition, that I must not ask help from that noble soul Jamshed Nasarwanji Mehta, who I was thinking was the first person I will approach, and he will give me all money and all facilities. So the task became all the more difficult. But within the stipulated period of time, I accomplished the task, helped by other Baba lovers, and when I was almost halfway through, a cable came saying that stop, now your remaining part of the work, I will myself finish in northern India, near Dehradun, at Rishikesh and other places. And so I had the monies sent over to Baba, and he finished the task which he had asked me to start and complete. In 1937, to remind you all once again, during those most glorious birthday celebrations, when the Westerners were present for the first time, when all those glorious days program finished, people one by one in row started meeting Baba and bid him goodbye with hugs, kisses. And as soon as my turn came, Baba said, stop. Baba said, I have started recently an ashram at Rahuri for the mad and the must, and I must have this mad fellow in my ashram. So he ordered that along with a few of the resident Mandali, I must proceed to Rahuri, stay there for 24 hours, and then go back to Karachi. Now here, it is important for me to tell you that I had heard a lot about one Parsi gentleman, Mr. Pleader, of whom many of you must have heard, that once for 5 years Baba kept him on milk only and in a cave at Panchgani. And I knew that he was, I beg your pardon, I didn't know that he was a Rahuri, but I was very, very keen to see that man, feeling that he is one of the very few who is really very close to Baba and is going headlong to qualify for the ultimate grace of Baba, for God realization to him through Baba. So this innermost feeling, Baba satisfied thus. When I reached Rahuri, I found that Pleader was there. Almost through the night we talked with each other. There were various types of us there. One would simply open a paper and say, Christ, Christ, the Holy Christ, Meher Baba the Christ, Christ, the Holy Christ. The other would take an empty kerosene tin and dum 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 all the time. Another fellow would cry and keep on crying and crying all the time. And this famous Mast Muhammad was then seen by me. He was very thin and lean, and he would brush his teeth for hours together and continue to brush, and so on and so forth. At that time, I told them that Baba will come to see me before I go. And they said, are you mad? Do you expect Baba to come over 100 miles up and down the ghats only to meet you now that you have met him for so many days? And right enough, Baba did come. I well remember in a small Morris car driven by Adi Irani. Here a very remarkable incident happened. A few minutes before Baba's car arrived, each and every must suddenly stopped his respective activity. Namely, the one who was crying stopped crying. The one who was playing the drum, dum, 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 dum on an empty kerosene tin stopped. The one who was all the time saying, Christ, Christ, Meher Baba the Christ stopped. And so on and so forth. And everyone rushed, sprawled on the floor, and with their eyes fixed from under the iron gate, looked. It appeared as if an army was keeping readiness for firing. And very soon Baba appeared. And no soon the gates were opened and Baba entered, the same humdrum and all started. At that time Baba asked us, have you read the Times of India? And has any account of the celebrations appeared? And Dr. Ghani, who was there, and Mr. Pleader and others who were reading almost every word of the paper said no. And Baba just opened the paper and put his finger down and said, you fools, see this few lines. And there were those few lines about the celebrations. At that time, all of a sudden, Baba became very radiant. His face glowed, and all that he uttered was, through movement of his finger on the board, that by doing all this, I have cocked completely the bottle, which with a big bang I will open on the 27th of June. This was in the month of February, so I told Dr. Ghani, and before 27th of June, I had a cable sent to Dr. Ghani with only one word, butch, meaning cock. With great difficulty, that telegram was accepted by the authorities, who wondered what it meant, and it reached Dr. Ghani. But nothing happened on that June 27th, and nothing has happened to date. But we must wait and watch for the real 27th of June to come in very near future now. This appears definitely to have a very close connection with a period just preceding his most glorious, unimaginable manifestation. One day, Baba sent his car and some of the male Mandali members in the evening at the police training school Nasik to fetch me immediately, as according to Baba, I was needed very badly for a very important work. As usual, up, I sat in the car, managed to get urgent permission, normally a difficult thing, in the police training school, and I was before Baba within few minutes. Baba was in a very serious mood. There was pin-drop silence in the room, in the Circle Cinema, where during those days there was a seat. Baba was seated on a couch, and Baba told me, Minoo, get immediately inside, below me, in the couch, underneath the couch. And he said, try to go to sleep, but if you can't, Well, whatever you hear, don't tell it in details to anyone. But the gist of it, you may just tell or make use of as and when in future you feel necessary. So I can tell you all today that soon thereafter I found, of course I had instructions not to see anybody or anything. And what could I see from below the couch? But I didn't attempt, I closed my eyes, but kept my ears much more open than they are normally. And I heard a man walk in a perfect military style and salute Baba, pay his respects to Baba. And there was some talk going on in regard to Mahatma Gandhi, who was then at a very critical stage of his life, and who, I humbly submit, was in good faith dragging the country on a very dangerous threshold by his vow of fast unto death. It was Baba's desire, evidently, that Mahatma Gandhi should be made to desist from such a step in the best interest of the country and its future. But Mahatma Gandhi was adamant and demanded something concrete to feel sure that it is the wish and will of Baba. So if I correctly remember, a signed document was sent for a special messenger, and when everything was over, I was asked by Baba that now the work is done. The signed document sent by Baba to Mahatma Gandhi was obviously the written instructions to Mahatma Gandhi to break his fast, his vow of fast unto death. When everything was over, Baba told me to come out from below the couch, said that the work was over, that my participation in that important work was also over, and that I was ordered to be taken back to the police training school at Nasik that evening. And next morning, there were the headlines, Mahatma Gandhi breaks his vow of fast unto death. The entire world was shocked. But naturally not I, who had witnessed and participated Baba's working behind that memorable act. And now, let us see, can this man who said he's God in human form and such infinite compassion he has for one and all, can he really be so very angry as an ordinary individual and act in anger as we humans act? The plain and simple answer based on my experience, my life with him, is yes. To quote you just one concrete instance, one afternoon, Baba suddenly appeared in Nasik and walking round his resident Mandali, their beddings and their belongings, on the back of the stage of Circle Cinema Nasik, he caught hold of one of the resident Mandali disciples, a young boy, and told him to speak the truth. The boy obviously was suffering from what we almost all suffer in our young days, from the habit of self-abuse. And naturally the young man was shy before others to make a confession. Baba repeatedly told him that it is in his own interest to speak the truth. And when repeated entreaties by Baba failed, Baba lost his shirt completely, gave him such a hiding, that literally hiding, such a beating, that the young man started bleeding. And now can you just imagine? And immediately the young man made a clean breast of everything. And Baba said, "You are very fortunate," of course to him, "you are very fortunate that you have at last made the confession, and it will benefit you physically and spiritually." To give a personal touch to this incident, I myself desired internally very sincerely, and said to Baba internally, "Baba, at least give me some beating sometime and improve me also." And this I referred to frankly from within, for my own weaknesses through which I was then suffering. And coincidingly, there was Ramjubhai. Many of you must have heard about him, one of the stalwart Baba lovers, a disciple, one who from very young days was with Baba. Most surprisingly pointed at me and said, "Baba, why not beat Minoo also?" And the only beating that Baba gave, that he came close to me and gave a fine big hug. This is how, as I have said even yesterday, in my case it has been by Baba, spare the rod and spoil the child. There is still one incident I recollect during those fine Nasik days with Baba. There was a very fat, plumpy Maratha man who was a betel nut and cigarette shopwala in the compound of Circle Cinema at Nasik. Baba was about to leave for the West, and we all lined up to meet Baba. Some crying, some serious, some hugging, some kissing. When the turn of this man came, he also hugged Baba. Baba also hugged him very tight, kissed him, caressed him, but said that, "Look, I'll be very shortly coming back, but you see that you don't leave the premises of Circle Cinema." And off Baba went. A few of us understood the implications of Baba's caution and would often try to play prank with him, tease him, stand outside on the Bombay-Agra road and call him out. And he would openly say that, "Yes, you want me to die?" And he would never come out. Baba soon returned, as usual, prolonged, until one Sunday afternoon we were told that Baba is due to arrive from Bombay by car. I vividly remember that I had cycled down from the police training school at Nasik. When I entered the compound of the Circle Cinema, I heard the poor man tell The Irani gentleman, yes, his name was Sailor, given to him by Baba to give him tea. And in what little Marathi I understood, there was a talk between them, this man half in his sleep, and Sailor saying that I am not your father's servant, tea is not ready, there is my shop outside and you go and have tea. Well, I just passed by from the cycle, put my cycle there, went to Baba's seat, just cleaned it, kept roses ready because Baba was expected. And soon I heard hubble bubble, all shore, all noise. I rushed out to see what had happened, and I found that man dead. And he was partly out and partly in where his body was lying. When amazed, startled, soon came Baba's car. And when Baba came in, Baba was surprised as to why everybody was not pleased that Baba had come. And soon Baba learnt of the incident, and as soon as Baba was informed that the man in his half sleep probably tried to go out to have tea, and the moment he stepped out, he dropped dead. Another story relates to our own family. The mother-in-law of my brother at Nasik. Her eldest son came one day crying to Baba. One evening I was sitting there and said, and I recognized him, I had seen him some years ago, and he said, Baba, my mother is very badly ill, very ill, and I just come to inform. And Baba immediately got up and said, come along, I am coming to see her. He said, no, Baba, I haven't come to give you trouble to come to see her. Baba said, no, but without your asking, I am coming. And Baba jumped in the car and asked a few to accompany him, and I was one of those. We went there, Baba saw her, she was in a critical condition, and Baba said that this lady will never die. So I turned round and I said, is she immortal? Baba said, yes. I said, what nonsense, immortal? And that's how the thing ended. Exactly a year after, of course, here I forget that Baba has said that provided she does not leave the municipal limits of Nasik. So once again to myself from within I said that Baba, if you only gave me a much smaller limit, I would be immortal. And again, though I had not uttered, but I said from within, Baba smiled, patted me, said nothing, and the thing finished. Exactly a year thereafter, the same man comes in the evening and cries and says that the lady is dead. Well, how's that? And Baba said, it is impossible. I told you that lady will never die. And the man said, but Baba, she is actually dead and I have come to inform you. Then Baba casually asked, where? And the reply was, at Devlali, a place next to Nasik. And Baba said, yes, she can be dead. And now do what you do according to your Parsi customs. And how did this thing happen? It happened that her own sister, that mother-in-law, my brother's mother-in-law's sister, had died in Nasik, and in that hubble bubble they all left with the body to Devlali. And the moment the funeral went out, the next morning this lady dropped dead. Instances of people crying when meeting Baba, when being with Baba, some little, some more. some for a while and some for a very long time, are not uncommon, and I'm sure every one of you have heard of this. In my life with Baba, I have not been an exception to that as well. And this was more particularly during the beginning days at Nasik, when love overflowed tremendously. And it was a job for Baba to pacify me, to cool me down. Not only when before him in some room, in Circle Cinema, but out on the road, seeing Baba prostrate straight on the ground on the mud, unmindful of the people watching on the road, I would burst out in torrents of tears. At the Nasik railway station, the same. Run along with his moving train for a considerable period, full of tears, with all the risk of falling and injuring myself. All this continued for quite some time, some months, until one day Baba sat down and explained to me that it is not only the heart, but it is also the head that requires to be trained and tuned in alignment with heart, and both have to be balanced. And in due course of time, by the grace of love of Baba, this in my life was achieved. As in human life, so in life with Baba, in love we play so many pranks. And the more you love, the more pranks you play. And in my life with Baba, one of the pranks that I often played was to be on the lookout when he would be eating. Stand at a distance as far as possible in such a manner, from such a spot that nobody would be able to see, or hardly a few would, and look at Baba eating. And Baba never missed watching. Not only at Meherabad, Meherazad, but even in the moving train while traveling with him from Madras to Pune in 1947. And Baba would beckon. I would go to Baba, and like a dog, I would just wait without uttering one word. I would, with love, wish that he would throw the food that he had eaten and left, and that I would eat. But amazingly, it was Baba who sometimes held out the plate from which he had eaten and something remained, with instructions that I should finish. Sometimes he even took out from his mouth what he had chewed and with his own hands put it into my mouth. Sometimes, and that was rather rarely, the last was during his birthday celebrations at Meherabad in 1958, he asked me to distribute to a few outside. And the few before I had started became many, and it became a problem how to distribute that little food to so many, but yet it was managed. Now when such instances are related, and as I said before, it all sounds so egoistic, these are also instances of the love grace of Baba on one who loves him silently, steadfastly. And anything and everything asked with love, silently, is never refused by him. And the motive behind relating this story again is to infuse in the listeners such love, such longing as a disciple, as a devotee, as a Baba lover for Baba.
Yeah.
In 1937, as I had told you some time back, Baba stopped me and told me that he had just started a mad and a must ashram at Rauri, and that I, being a mad one, should go to Rauri with the resident Mandali members in a bus. When we were travelling in a bus, surely the bus was not chartered, so we set out for Rauri, mad and must ashram of Baba, in a bus. Surely the bus was not chartered, and there were other passengers as well. One of them happened to be a sadhu, and I minutely kept on observing him and noticed that he was more interested in us than the rest of the passengers. Almost when halfway through, and when the sadhu had to get off the bus, he waited until we all boarded the bus again, where we had halted for a while for rest, tea, etc. The sadhu, in an authoritative tone, ordered the driver to stop, and without a mistake went to each and every one of us in Baba and bowed down. But in my case, most surprisingly, mind you, he was a Hindu sadhu, he caught hold of my hand, kissed my hand in a Muslim fashion and left. I informed this incident to Baba sometime later when I met him again, and spontaneously Baba said in reply, "Have I not said so often, you all really do not know who you really are? Otherwise you all would not be so much with me from day to day." Please come in to the kitchen of Baba House, number 1 Lily Road, Karachi, Pakistan. Thank you. This is Minoo Kharas. On my left is my wife, Freni Kharas. On her left is my daughter, Gohar Kharas. And on her left is my son, Meherji Kharas. Now my wife will speak a few words about her experience in her life with Baba within the few years that she met him.
Jai Baba. I'm going to tell you how I met Baba in my life, first time. When I was in school, I heard that my parents were believing in Baba, and I got very annoyed, but I just couldn't tell them that what is all this fuss about Meher Baba, because I was feeling bad to move amongst my friends and everybody was started teasing me. So I had no guts to tell my parents that. But when I came down to Karachi, because I was studying in Ajmer, so when I came down to Karachi, that time Baba had called my parents to Lahore. And along with my parents, my younger brother went. They never took me. And that time also I was feeling very, very, self-conscious to face my friends. Then one day, Minoo came in my life in 1948, little before going to Bombay to see Baba, and most of the group was going from here also. So he asked me, "Aren't you coming?" So I just said, "No, I'm not coming because my daddy is not taking me." Then he said, no, come along, you just get ready and pack your things and I will take you. I was so happy only from that point of view that I would go and see Bombay most of the time. Then on the ship also, when we were traveling, he asked me many questions about Baba, and sometimes I just told him all lies, that I love Baba and all that. But in my heart of hearts, I had never wanted these things. When we went to Nagar then, and on the 31st of December 1948, when I first met Baba in Adi Senior's office, I was really shocked and tears started flowing from my eyes. And I was crying in Baba's lap for nearly half an hour, and Baba let me do that. And for Baba was talking with my daddy, and Minoo was inside too in the room. And then that is how I came in contact with Baba, and from that time I loved him more and more every time when I went to see him, till Baba dropped his body in 1969. Thank you. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. I am Gohar, my name being given to me by beloved Baba. As you see, I am very fortunate that since the day I was born, I have known beloved Baba. When I first met him, it was the Savas of 1962, the East-West gathering. And I very vividly remember beloved Baba sitting there on the sofa, on the stage, wearing a pink coat and his white kafni. Yes, that is still very vivid in my mind, and to this day I love Baba with all my heart and soul. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. I am Meherji. Baba had given my name. I saw Baba twice, and I still love him and remember him. Jai Baba.
In my life experiences with Baba, I have made it very clear of the three specific orders which were given to me by Baba, mainly to qualify me to play the role, the stupendous role that will be required to be played by me along with Baba at the time of his glorious manifestation. And one of those orders, as you know, was no sex relations with any girl or woman. Marriage, therefore, for me, was out of the question, according to me. But, as frankly admitted, and as is usual with all of us, our human weaknesses of lives together continue to play an important part in life, and the tug of war between love divine and love in the flesh continues. In 1949, most surprisingly, at the crucial hour, the important year when the new life of Baba was to start, I felt a very deep urge to marry. This occurred to me after many years, the first being in 1933 when I passed out from the Nasik Police Training School at Nasik. But my marriage never took place. In 1948, 31st of December, as my wife Freni just said, she was one of those who had her first darshan of Baba. And I boldly told Baba that I like her very much and I would want to marry. And Baba immediately turned down the proposal, and I kept quiet. But in 1950, on the 16th of October, when we met at Mahabaleshwar, when Baba stepped into old life for an hour or so from new life and stepped back again into new life, Baba called me alone and said, no, I beg your pardon, it was not that time. It was in June 1951 at Hyderabad Deccan, during the new life, that Baba one day called me and asked me, Minoo, are you really sincerely wanting to get married? And I said yes. And he said for 3 times, marry Freni Patel, marry Freni Patel, marry Freni Patel. And also said, do not leave Freni Patel, do not leave Freni Patel, do not leave Freni Patel. Thus, eventually, in 1954, I got married. Thereafter, within few months in September, we met Baba at Ahmednagar, and then in the 60s at Guru Prasad, Pune. Every time he asked about the family. It was first my daughter Gohar, to him, for whom for 9 months he would not give any name, until one day he sent the name Gohar. And then the son Meherji, for whom he sent the name spontaneously. In 1962, at Guru Prasad, late in the night, we were standing under the tree waiting for a taxi to pick us up. Baba came out in a car and saw us standing and inquired as to who are standing and why, because everybody was asked to go away. And somebody said, I think it was Erat who said that, Baba, it is Minoo Kharas. And Baba said, but who else are with him? So Erat said, but natural, his wife, Freni, and perhaps it is that little son, Meherji. And Baba called us. And as soon as we went, this is how we were photographed. All of a sudden, and we met Baba as a family.
In 1958, when we were at Lower Meherabad for Baba's Shawars for 5 days, participated when it was at the time of his birthday. Most of us suffered from cold, and I was one of them too. But I had never taken any medicine. So when Baba came to know that I had cold, he called me and said, "Have you taken any medicines?" I said, "No, Baba." So Baba said, "Why have you not taken?" So I said, "Baba, I'll take." So he gave me such a look that I got nearly frightened, and he said, "Go at once and take injection. Otherwise, you'll get more sick," because we had to leave the next day. So I just went quietly and took a shot and just came back. At the time when Baba was in Guru Prasad, Baba always used to inquire about everybody's health. So when I was there, Baba inquired, and he just made humorous action and said, "You're looking very fat and nice. What you're eating?" I said, "Baba, nothing. I'm eating just my food, that's all." So Baba said, "You're putting on too much weight. Come down." I said, "All right, Baba." That was the way Baba used to do humor with us. Yeah.
In 1955, a year after my birth, Baba asked Daddy for a snap of mine, a photograph. And Daddy gave him a snap, and Baba took it in his hands and just looked at it, smiled, and he cradled it as if he were cradling a child, just like that. And I remember Baba very well in 1962. At that time, I was only 7 years of age, and every afternoon we were called at Guru Prasad, and we would sit in the small side room at the side of the great hall, and Baba would sit there and people all around him, and I would just sit in one corner and stare at Baba. I was so fascinated at that time. And I would just look at Baba and feel so happy, feel all his love just pouring out from him. Thank you. As a child, I had heard many stories from my father about Baba, and in a way I did love him. But in '62, when for the first time I saw Baba, it suddenly hit me that yes, I have seen God in human form, and how very fortunate I was to have seen that.
The family as a whole first met Baba in 1962, November, Savas, East-West gathering at Pune. And then the Easterners gathering at the same place, Guru Prasad, Pune, in 1965. The only object of our going, the whole family, was the service, the intimate companionship of Baba, love for Baba, and my wife and I to do the duty as one of those detailed out to do duty towards the Westerners in 1962 Savas and Easterners from all over India in 1965. There was undoubtedly no question of expecting any material or spiritual reward or anything of the kind. It was just to be in his presence and to receive of his love as per his clear messages then to those assembled, delivered through Brother Erach and the others. Jai Baba.
Yes, just as Minoo said, I also went to Savas with all love and for nothing gain, materially or otherwise. Jai Baba. All I went there for Baba's Savas and for all his love and nothing else, and intimate companionship over there.
these savas were feast of love of God in human form. And we wish that as in 1969, soon after Baba dropped his body, there was a similar feast of love at Guru Prasad. You all will also, with love,